Most people see the swoosh and think of billionaire athletes and global dominance. But they don't see the man who, at 24 years old, was so terrified of his own future that he fled to the other side of the world. In 1962, Phil Knight was a lost kid with a crazy idea. He believed Japanese running shoes could disrupt the market, but he had no company, no money, and no experience. He begged his father for $50, a small fortune back then, to fly to Japan. He sat in a boardroom of cold, staring executives and lied. He told them he was the CEO of a massive American distributor called Blue Ribbon Sports. In reality, Blue Ribbon was nothing more than a name he'd made up seconds before opening his mouth. He walked out with a contract and a massive weight on his shoulders. The hustle had begun, but it was built on a lie that could ruin him before he even started. When the first shipment of shoes finally arrived in Oregon, Phil's father looked at him like he was insane. No stores would stock them. The experts said American runners would never wear Japanese trash. Phil had two choices: quit and get a real job, or find a way. He chose the grind. Every weekend, Phil loaded his beat-up green Plymouth Valiant with shoeboxes. He drove to every local track meet, every high school race, and every marathon. While other people were enjoying their weekends, Phil was standing in the mud, talking to sweaty athletes, and selling shoes one pair at a time from his trunk. He wasn't just a salesman, he was a shoe dog, someone so obsessed with the craft that nothing else mattered. He made $8,000 in his first year. It wasn't much, but it was enough to prove the crazy idea had legs. Phil knew he couldn't just resell shoes forever. He had to innovate. He teamed up with his old track coach, Bill Bowerman. Bowerman was a mad scientist of speed. He would strip down shoes and rebuild them to save a single ounce of weight. One morning, while sitting at breakfast with his wife, Bowerman looked at the waffle iron on the table. He wondered, if I melt rubber into those grooves, would it create better traction? He ruined the waffle iron, but he created the waffle sole. It was the first major innovation of the company. But as the shoes became famous, the relationship with their Japanese supplier turned toxic. They saw Phil's success and tried to steal the business out from under him. They gave him an ultimatum: sell the company to us, or we cut you off. Phil was backed into a corner. He had to pivot or watch his life's work disappear. This is where the chronicle gets dark. For nearly 2 decades, Nike was a zombie company. They were making millions in sales, but they had $0 in the bank. Phil was caught in a cycle of debt. To buy the next shipment of shoes, he had to borrow everything from the bank. If one shipment was late, the company would die. The stress was unbearable. Phil's bank eventually grew so tired of his constant cash flow problems that they did the unthinkable. They blacklisted Blue Ribbon Sports. They froze his accounts, leaving him unable to pay his employees. They even contacted the FBI to investigate him. Phil was a success on the outside, but every night he went to sleep, wondering if he'd be in handcuffs or homeless by morning. This is the hustle no one talks about, the years of pure, unadulterated terror. In 1971, the break with Japan was final. Phil needed a brand, and he needed it in 24 hours. He found a graphic design student named Carolyn Davidson and told her he needed a logo that conveyed motion. She came back with a few sketches. Phil picked the swoosh. He famously told her, "I don't love it, but I hope it grows on me." He paid her $35. Then came the name. Phil wanted Dimension 6. His employees hated it. They debated for hours. Finally, Jeff Johnson, his first employee, claimed he saw the name Nike in a dream, the Greek goddess of victory. With a name and a logo, they went to a trade show in Chicago. The shoes were leaking, the boxes were ugly, but the brand had a soul. They weren't just selling shoes anymore, they were selling victory. By 1984, the company was stalling again. They needed a spark. They put all their hopes on a rookie from North Carolina named Michael Jordan. At the time Jordan wanted to sign with Adidas, Nike had to overpay just to get him in the room. They created the Air Jordan, a shoe that broke every NBA rule. The league fined Jordan $5,000 every time he stepped on the court in them. Most CEOs would have asked the player to change shoes. Phil Knight did the opposite. He told Jordan to keep playing, and Nike would pay every single fine. It was the greatest marketing move in history. Nike wasn't just a sports brand, it became the brand of the rebel. Today, Nike is everywhere. But it didn't start with a billion-dollar investment. It started with a $50 loan and a man willing to sell shoes out of his trunk for years while his bank called him a failure. Phil Knight proved that the only difference between a crazy idea and a legend is the willingness to stay in the race when everyone else has gone home. The cowards never started, and the weak died along the way. That leaves us. What's your hustle? Are you in the trunk phase or the waffle iron phase? Let us know in the comments. If this story fueled your grind, subscribe to Hustle Chronicles. We'll see you at the finish line.